All right, guys, so we got a test coming up, test 17, so we're going to do review 17 today. I'm not hitting every problem in the video, but I am hitting some pretty important ones for the test, so you might want to pay attention. We're going to start off with number 5. If you look at the ones above this, they're all basically the same thing. 5 is just the most complex. If you can do 5, then you should be able to do any of the ones before. Now, just because I'm not doing 1 through 4 on this video does not mean you don't need to do 1 through 4. I have 5a cubed b squared times 98 a squared b to the ninth. So I'm going to leave the 5a cubed b squared alone. There's nothing I can really do with it yet. And I'm going to break up the radical into the square root of 98 times the square root of a squared times the square root of b to the ninth. So there's really only one tough thing we have to do here, and that's we're going to have to simplify the square root of 98. And guys, it's important that you can do this part. If you can, it's going to mess you up really bad on the test. So 98 is even, so I'm going to divide it by 2. When I divide it by 2, I get 49. 2, 3, 5 won't go into 49, but 7 will, and I get a 7 out. So I just rewrote the square root of 98 as 2 times 7 times 7. If I can get it to right there. The square root of a squared, divide the exponent by 2, we get 1, so I have a to the first, times 9 divided by 2 is 4.5, so I have b to the fourth, and I have a square root of b left inside. Now I've got a set of 7s here that I can pull out, so I really have 7 square roots of 2 times a times b to the fourth square roots of b. But I also have the 5a cubed b squared lying around. So now we need to get everything that's on the outside and multiply it together. I've got 5 and I've got 7, so I get 35. I've got an a cubed and an a to the first, that's a to the fourth because we add exponents when we're multiplying. I have a b squared and a b to the fourth, which is b to the sixth. Then still on the inside I have a 2 and a b, so 2b. Now guys, as far as the variables go, finding their square roots is pretty easy. If we're having trouble factoring 98, we need to get that done before tomorrow when we take the test. If you don't, it's going to make it really hard on you because a lot of questions you're going to have to factor. Let's look at number 6. I have 75x to the sixth, the square root of 75x to the sixth divided by 300y to the 12th. So I'm going to go ahead and fix this one. I'm going to write this one separately as well. I'm going to say that one of them is the square root of 75 over 300, and that's times the square root of x to the sixth over y to the 12th. The best thing you can do here is simplify. You could put 75 divided by 300 in your calculator, but 75 goes into 300 one time and leaves 4. So I have the square root of 1/4. Then over here I'm going to rewrite this as the square root of x to the sixth over the square root of y to the 12th. Now even if you mess up the square root of 75 over 300, the variables again are pretty easy. I'm going to go ahead and take the square root of 1/4. It ends up being 1/2. And you could rewrite this, of course. You could say it's the square root of 1 over the square root of 4, which equals 1 over 2. And then I'm going to go ahead and fix my variables. I have the square root of x to the sixth. 6 divided by 2 is 3, so I have x cubed. Over y to the 12th would be 12 divided by 2 would leave me y to the sixth. Now I multiply the top. I get 1x to the third. The bottom, I get 2y to the sixth. That 1 in front of the x cubed is not necessary, but if you have to, that's just as good. So guys, those are two pretty nasty looking problems, probably the nastiest looking problems on this whole review. If you can do those, you shouldn't have a lot of trouble with most of the problems. We're going to skip number 7. We're going to go to number 8. 8 is a really easy problem if you just remember how to rearrange your radicals. Remember, if there's no number right here, there's technically a 2. There's no number out there, it's a 1. So what we need to do is take our x out of our radical, and then it's going to be 1 over 2. The 2 that's the number that's in front is your denominator. The number that's behind is your numerator. Then I have times x to the, and if I do the same process, that's 1 over 3. Now, I need to multiply these together, which means I'm going to have to add their exponents. But right now, their exponents are not going to be able to be added together. I need a common denominator. Out of 2 and 3, that would be 6. I had to multiply 2 by 3 to get 6, so I have 3 on top. I have to multiply 3 by 2 to get 6, so it gives me 2 on top. 3 plus 2 is 5 over 6. So my answer is x to the 5 over 6. So guys, you're going to have to remember how to rearrange, but it's not going to be extremely complicated. You need to do your best, and it should work out for you. All right, let's go and look at number 10 real quick. Now, I told you the other day there's not going to be a whole lot of stuff off section 7.2, and this is basically the question that covers it. I have 16 in parentheses to the negative 1/2. And the first thing I want to do is get rid of my negative exponent. So this is all really over 1, so I just need to move this all to the denominator. 1's going to be left on top, and I'm going to have 16 to the 1/2. Once you do that, guys, you can rewrite it a little bit. That's 1 over 2 roots of 16 to the first, which is just a square root. So that gives me the answer of 1 over 4. So guys, that's not a really tough problem. It's going to look extremely similar on your test. Look what I did here and use that tomorrow. Now, it may not necessarily be an easy square root like the square root of 16, but it may very well be. So we'll look at that problem, make sure you get it right. Let's move on to the next page. I want to look at number 11. This is one that we did yesterday on 17.4. I have 2 divided by the square root of 6, and right now there's nothing I can do. Even if I factored 6, it's just 2 and 3, and it will not help me. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to rewrite it, and my only problem seems to be a radical in the denominator. So I'm going to fix it by using a clever form of 1. I'm going to use the denominator square root of 6 over the square root of 6. When I multiply through with this, it's going to fix my problems. So I take the numerator and multiply them, 2 times the square root of 6. But then in the bottom, since they're both inside, I can combine them. 6 times 6 gives me the square root of 36. Well, I still have 2 square roots of 6 on top, but I know the square root of 36 is 6, and now I can simplify. I can take a 2 out of both of them. That leaves me with 1 square root of 6 divided by 3. The 1 is not necessary, but is just fine if you put it. So guys, a question like that's pretty easy. If you remember the clever form of 1, then it's just multiplying from there. Let's look at number 12. Number 12 can be a pretty easy one. And you don't really have to do it in this order. I'm going to factor my 18 first, because I know when I multiply 3 by 18, it's going to make it bigger. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, okay, I can't do anything with the square root of 3. There is a 1 in front of that, but I can fix 18. It's even, so I take out a 2 and I get out a 9. And 9 is 3 and 3. So I have times the square root of 2 times 3 times 3. Now I can clean that up a little bit. I have a pair of 3s, so I can pull it out. I have 1 square root of 3 times 3 square roots of 2. Now, if we were adding or subtracting, guys, we couldn't do this because the square root of 3 and square root of 2 don't match. But since it's multiplication, we can. Take what's outside and multiply it together. 1 times 3 is 3. Then take the insides and multiply those together. 3 times 2 is 6. So your answer is 3 square roots of 6. So guys, that's really not a tough problem. You have to be able to factor those numbers and simplify your radicals, or you're not going to get those answers. Let's look at number 14. 14 is not a really bad problem. You just have to remember that it's distribution, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take 3 square roots of 2 times 2 square roots of 8. 3 times 2 gives me 6. The square root of 2 times the square root of 8 gives me the square root of 16. Minus, let's see, we have 3 square roots of 2 times negative 5 square roots of 3. 3 times 2 is 15. The square root of 2 times square root of 3 is 6. Now, I cannot combine these as they sit because the square root of 16 and the square root of 6 don't work. But I know the square root of 16 is 4. So I can clean this up a little bit more. 6 times 4 is 24 minus 15 square roots of 6. So don't be worried if things don't combine, but check to see if there's any perfect squares, because if there are, it can make your life a lot easier. All right, guys, let's go down to number 16. I have the square root of 5 divided by 49. This is, again, one from 17.4, and there's nothing I can really do there. I want to check and see if I can simplify this fraction, but there's nothing I can do. So I'm going to rewrite it each under their own square root. So I have the square root of 5 divided by the square root of 49. Now, the square root of 5 we're stuck with besides its prime, but the square root of 49 is 7, so our answer is the square root of 5 divided by 7. So again, guys, a pretty easy problem. If I were you, I'd go through the test and look for problems like that I can do in a couple of steps and get them out of the way. 18 is another problem that's pretty quick and easy. I have the square root of 13 squared. Now, guys, you have to remember, this means it's the square root of 13 times the square root of 13. Well, I can multiply them together. 13 times 13 is 169. And guys, that is a perfect square. You should know when you multiply two of the same thing under the square root together, you're going to end up with the number inside. The square root of 169 ends up being 13. And guys, technically, I don't really need to see a lot of work on that one at all. You should be able to just pull that one up pretty quick. Number 19 is where I want to go next. I have 3 square roots of 45 plus 7 square roots of 36. I cannot add those together as they sit. I'm going to have to go ahead and reduce or simplify the square root of 45 and 36. So I'm going to start with 45, and since it ends in 5, divide it by 5. When you do that, you get 9. And we've seen 9 several times. I know that's 3 and 3. So what I have over here is 3 times the square root of 3 times 3 times 5. Plus 7 times, we need to factor 36. It's even, so I can take out a 2, and that leaves me an 18. I can divide that again by 2, and this time I get 9. And again, we've seen this one, that's 3 and 3. And guys, when you're factoring on your test, make sure you haven't already factored it. It could make your life a little bit easier. So I have 7 times the square root of 2 times 2 times 3 times 3. Now, we can fix our square roots because we do have groups in both. I have a group of 3's there, and I have a group of 2 and a group of 3's in the second one. So really, I have 3 times 3, the 3 came from right there, times the square root of 5, plus 7 times, I can take out a 2 because of this pair, and a 3 because of this pair, and that leaves nothing left inside. So 3 times 3 is 9 square roots of 5, plus 7 times 2 is 14. 14 times 3 is 42. So again, it's not a terrible problem, guys. You just have to be careful. Let's look at number 20. Now, number 20 is another one from 17.4. And as it sits right now, like maybe I could factor 30. It'd be 2, 3, and 5, so that's not really going to help me much. And I can't do anything with the square root of 6, so let's rewrite it. I'm going to write them both under the same root or radical. Because what I noticed is that I can do 30 divided by 6. 30 divided by 6 is 5. So the answer is the square root of 5. Guys, some of those are pretty easy problems. You need to make sure that you have those down. Those are your go-to ones on the test. Let's go to the last page. Got a few to do back there. I want to look at number 23. Number 23 is a good problem. There will be a couple that are as long as 23. When we are doing 23, you might also look at what we do on number 12, on number 27. They're very similar. I want to do 23 because it's a little bit harder. I have 4 square roots of 2 minus 6 square roots of 72 plus 8 square roots of 50. Now, if I look at the first term, 4 square roots of 2, there's nothing that I can do there. But I do have the square root of 72, so I'm going to simplify. I can take a 2 out of 72, and I get 36. And guys, I'm pretty sure we've done 36 recently. You could use that to go on from here. I take out a 2, I get an 18. I take out a 2, I get a 9. I take out a 3, and I get a 3. So I've rewritten the square root of 72 as the square root of 2 times 2 times 2 times 3 times 3 plus 8 times the square root of, now I need to break apart 50. It's a little bit quicker. Since you really have a couple of choices here. You could go start with 5 since it ends in a 0, or since it's even, start with 2. I'm going to start with 2. That'll leave me 25, and 25, of course, is 5 and 5. So I have 8 times the square root of 2 times 5 times 5. Now we can do, that's the hard work in this one, guys. Now we can bring out what we can. I still have the 4 square roots of 2, but I have minus 6 times. I can pull out a group of 2's and a group of 3's. So times 2 times 3, but a 2 would be left inside, plus 8 times 5. We have a pair of 5, so I can pull out a 5, square roots of 2. Now that's a little bit of work there, guys, but once you do it, everything else is pretty easy. I really have 4 square roots of 2 minus 6 times 2 is 12. 12 times 3 is 36, square roots of 2. Plus 8 times 5 is 40, and also have the square root of 2. Now, if you notice, all my terms end in the square root of 2. That's like ending in x, so I know I'm going to have a square root of 2 in my answer. But I have 4 minus 36 plus 40. 4 minus 36 is negative 32. Negative 32 plus 40 is 8. And feel free to use your calculator to do that arithmetic. You don't want to mess up a problem like that. Let's go ahead and look at number 24. We're not going to do it. I just want you to realize there's two ways you could do it. You could start by simplifying the numerator and the denominator, just like we done the last problem. I'm pretty sure we've seen 80 already on the review. Or you could rewrite it as 80 over 12, the square root of. And then, guys, I can take a 4 out of both of those. That would leave me 20 over 3. Then you could go ahead and factor your 20. So you could do it at first, you could do it at the end. Sometimes seeing if it'll simplify will make an easier simplification at the end. Let's go ahead and look at number 26. 26 is another pretty easy go-to problem. It's 4 square roots of 6 squared. And we already kind of did one like this. That's 4 square roots of 6 times 4 square roots of 6. 4 times 4 gives me 16 times 6 times 6 is the square root of 36. But again, we should know that the square root of 36 is 6. So I have 16 times 6, which gives me 96. So guys, another pretty easy, quick question. So as far as the other problems, guys, just a few pointers. On 27, you need to simplify those, and things will combine when they have the same radical at the end. 28 is a really good one to do for practice. Those are some big numbers to factor, but you might also check to see if they are perfect squares. I mean, it does happen. You might try those out before you do the whole problem. My advice on 29 would be to simplify, simplify the 28 over 48, then try to simplify your radicals. Let me look around, see if there's any other tips I want to give you on problems we didn't do. Number 21 is a very easy problem, so is number 22. Make sure you do them. Those are really quick. If we look at the previous page, let's see, number 17, just remember outsides times each other's inside times each other. You're going to get a number. Number 15, you can have negatives outside of the radical, and you will have a negative on this one, so don't worry. My suggestion on number 13 is split them up like the square root of 3 over the square root of 8 times the square root of 7 over the square root of 2. If you do that, you'll get your answer pretty easily. You could either go ahead and multiply them, or you could go ahead and try to factor 8. So just keep that one in mind. Let's see, we did 11 and 12. Flipping back to the first page, let's see, make sure you can do number 10. Number 9 is a good one to practice with. I don't believe we did number 7. Those are also good practice, but make sure you can do 1 through 4, because if you can factor 704 and 1025, and neither of them are very bad, then you'll be able to factor anything on the test. Guys, if you need extra help, you got to come in and get it. The review looks a lot like the test. It's all computation. It's just less questions. And so that means it's easy to get partial credit. You need to at least know how to start every problem, how to find square roots of variables, and how to factor. If you do that, it's almost impossible to make lower than a 50. If you don't look over those things and can't start, you're going to make a horrible grade. But remember, go through and answer some of them that are really easy. I mean, if I were looking at this first page or this test, I'd probably do number 10. That's pretty easy. 8's pretty easy. I mean, look, 11, 12 are really quick and easy. 15's pretty fast. So, guys, go through and don't sit and look at number 1 the entire time. Go through, get the ones you can do done. You have one class period. I keep having people that'll stare at the first 5 problems and not even look at the back when there's easy problems they could have got right. So study, ask questions if you need it, and good luck.